What if it's just trying to scare us?
I mean, it's not like we can just stop ourselves from being scared. She just sticks one under her tongue. She says it makes all her fears and troubles melt away like magic.
The fourth episode of It Welcome to Derry shows us the discovery that Pennywise's power weakens when his victims chemically suppress their fear. In a world where the creature's abilities hinge on exploiting fear, the children's use of anti-anxiety medication, whether it is Valium, Miltown, the so-called happy pills, or any fear-dampening drug or antidepressant, essentially functions as a temporary firewall. The episode demonstrates that when fear is muted, the illusionary horrors Pennywise projects lose their grip. Yet this workaround is also fragile, incomplete, and exploitable. Lily's insight that fearlessness, or the appearance of it, undermines Pennywise becomes a turning point, but it also triggers Pennywise's retaliation against Marge, showing that the creature adapts quickly when his feeding patterns are threatened. This is because across Stephen King's novel, the movies, and now Welcome to Derry, Pennywise operates as a predator who feeds not only on bodies, but on terror.
Adrenaline. Cortisol, called the fear hormones. Some predators like the taste of.
Prepare to meet thy God!
Fear is both his weapon and his sustenance. In the universe King created, courage, real or feigned, functions like a psychic defense. The Losers Club famously defeats Pennywise not through brute force, but through belief. Belief in themselves, belief in their unity, and belief in the creature's vulnerability. Thus, this show's introduction of psychotropic anxiety relief drugs becomes an extension of this idea. If courage can starve Pennywise, then anything that reduces fear can theoretically blunt his influence. The children's experiment with chemical-reduced fear creates an artificial emotional shield, a chemically supported version of the loser's legendary belief-powered resistance. What makes this so compelling is that the mechanism appears to be primarily a placebo. Because the kids believe the drugs will stop the hallucinations, their confidence deprives Pennywise of emotional leverage. This subtly suggests that Pennywise's illusions rely on the victim's anticipation of terror.
I used to have nightmares as a kid about my dad going down in a plane like he did in Korea. How did it know that?
The moment a target expects to be afraid, the creature's psychic assaults successfully take root. Lily's drug plan works not necessarily because the pills neutralize fear biologically, but because they convince the kids they are immunized. Their certainty becomes a psychological shield Pennywise cannot immediately penetrate. This is consistent with a long-standing motif in King's mythology. Belief shapes reality. Pennywise can kill because children believe he is lethal. Conversely, he can be harmed when the children believe he can be harmed. The medication functions as a talisman, not unlike the inhaler or the silver slugs the Losers Club used. The difference is that this new talisman comes from modern pharmaceutical culture, an anxiety-era shortcut to courage. But Pennywise is not static. The moment the children's fear becomes chemically muffled, Pennywise's strategy evolves. Unable to terrify Lily and the others directly, the creature shifts to indirect psychological warfare.
Marge, what's wrong?
The grotesque attack on Marge occurs not to frighten Marge alone, but to traumatize Lily by proxy. Pennywise recognizes that Lily has disrupted his power cycle. Therefore, he targets someone emotionally adjacent to her. Lily's plan protects her mind, but not the minds of others. Pennywise weaponizes this ethical gap. If he cannot frighten the children directly, he can frighten them through guilt, horror, and blame. The injury Marge suffers, part hallucination, part terrifying misinterpretation, becomes a warning. Fear suppressed in one person rebounds onto another. Pennywise cannot bear to lose prey, so he simply relocates the point of attack. The idea that medication could have been a permanent solution for the Losers Club in the future is an intriguing thought experiment. Could the children of Derry have armed themselves with antidepressants or sedatives during their battles with Pennywise and avoided decades of trauma? Possibly, but this episode hints at why this strategy has limits.
I got one for each of us.
Guess the second something weird starts to happen, we take it and
hope for the best. Close your eyes!
If even one member of the group doubts the drug's effectiveness, Pennywise wins. Adults will naturally lose. The Losers Club succeeded because their belief was unified. Drugs are inherently fragile. As the Marge incident shows, Pennywise does not need to attack the medicated children directly. He can terrify them through violence inflicted on others. Children who numb out their own fear cannot numb the suffering around them. In King's universe, you don't defeat Pennywise simply by suppressing fear. You defeat him by transforming that fear into strength, connection, and self-knowledge. Medication may silence fear temporarily, but it does not create the emotional unity or bravery needed to confront it permanently. Also, stopping one group's fear simply exposes other children to greater danger. If the kids protect themselves with drugs, Pennywise will move on to other prey. This is why this was never used in the future, because they would not protect themselves at the expense of others.
I'm here this time, take me.
The moment a child chooses chemical courage, they risk becoming morally complicit in the creature's redirected violence. And this does not even get into the idea of basically being a drug abuser for the rest of your life in order to avoid Pennywise. This episode used the drug-induced fearlessness not as a solution, but as a metaphor. Pennywise can be weakened by drugs, but only in ways that are fragile, temporary, and morally complicated. The pills work because the children believe they work, and in believing, they momentarily disrupt Pennywise's feeding cycle. Yet Pennywise adapts just as rapidly as the children do, shifting from direct terror to indirect harm. The new group's drug-based workaround is brilliant, but it is only a temporary flicker of resistance against an entity that has survived millions of years by evolving faster than its prey. Unfortunately, drugs in this case are not the answer.